Hang on to your hats, cause it's another wild and windy day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Wilds of Eldraine is an absolute dumpster fire of problems, and if that wasn't enough, there's a whole bunch of people who are riled up about a Black Lotus reprint. We have a lot to discuss today.
Magic.
I am a wizard!
History.
I'm an old wizard!
The Magic Historian.
My bones hurt. Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends! I hope the day finds you well, because we have gathered for another cram-packed installment of Mega Magic News. The main meat of today is the Eldraine situation, but we are going to talk about the Black Lotus hubbub that's popping off as well. Before we do any of that, I want to talk about something real exciting. Take a look at this. We have now official Magic Historian pins, yo! There are 3 different variations. I'll leave a link at the end of the stream if you want to go and check those out. They are chef's kiss. They're beautiful. These turned out fantastically. So you can get yourself some goodness. Now, let's go from goodness to badness. Daddy needs his notepad. Let's take a look. What do we got? For the Eldraine disaster, we have a number of points I want to talk about. Now, if you haven't seen my previous videos, you'll notice that I was pretty hyped on Eldraine. There's a bunch that I like going on with it. I talked about how the lore was doing a pretty good job. Well, things have kind of fallen off of a cliff. So you know how it goes. One day it's love, the next day it's what are you doing? And today it's what are you doing? So let's start out by just talking about the overall power level of Wilds of Eldraine, because it is coming in heavy. If you didn't get a chance to see my live stream that I did over on my other channel, Hatcher, I went over every card that had been spoiled for this new set so far, and there are a bunch of powerhouse cards in there, to the point where like run-of-the-mill power level stuff is even super powerful. The stuff that's average for this set is strong. If you remember, the first Throne of Eldraine had real power issues. I did multiple videos on different cards like Fires of Invention going, yo, this free cost is a problem. And there are some absolutely buck nutty dragons where it's like, yo, I cost 2 red and 4 to put out, but when I come out, I give you 4 mana of any color. Did I mention I'm haste? And the list just goes on. We're just like, what is going on? So the power level is way off the chain. I definitely recommend you go check out all the spoilers that I looked over. Now, overall, like power level concerns, they can balance that out to a degree with bannings. But remember, we're entering this new era of bannings where Wizards has decided, you know what? I feel like we ban stuff too much. And I'm just like, wait, how did you come to this conclusion? You are monitoring the formats, it feels like, less than ever. They've literally gone standard, went from being a 2-year to a 3-year format, and they went, let's take an easier hand with banning. Do you remember the ban announcement they just did where they're like, well, actually, guys, we're not banning anything. We're unbanning 2 blue cards, but the whole time we're going to talk about Orcish Bowmasters and the One Ring, and we're going to talk about how the One Ring, because it's colorless, can go into so many decks, and that's why we're not banning it, right? So we're entering into a brand new era. The previous Eldraine set was with the fire design, but now we've got a fire concept banned and restricted list where on top of not banning cards that are like the big money cards for the set, they just want to go, oh no, hands off. You can't do this, guys. You can't go hands off with the banning to this level. It's going to get worse rather than better. And that's just obviously one of the issues with Eldraine is the power level. Now, let's talk about the lore situation, because, man, everything just fell apart. The wheels fell off the bus at the end. If you didn't know, I have a lore channel where I've been covering the Wilds of Eldraine story. I don't know, I'm having such a hard time saying it. Wilds of Eldraine. The story has actually been a lot of fun. The main character, hero Kellen, is surprisingly delightful. I really have been enjoying him, and up until now, up until the last installment of the story, I actually had this is crazy, I had very few nitpicks with the story. I went, oh, you know what, most of this is fine. I had some issues with the Wicked Slumber, and I discussed those in a live stream, but the final installment of the lore, the final part of the story, is pure madness. It literally leads a ton of loose ends. You go, wait, why did this happen? No, that can't happen. She can't do that. That object isn't even in her possession anymore. She can't be using something she doesn't have. What has happened? I don't want to give away too many spoilers in specific for the story, because the 5th installment, the final part, just came out today. So if you haven't seen all of the lore, go watch them. I did shortened down versions of them, okay? So my versions of the story are about 15 minutes long. Wizards' version are 40 minutes long, and they are kind of dragging on. But on top of that, it turns out, and this is the part that blows my mind, the first 3 parts of the lore that Wizard puts out, in terms of their production value, were better than the next 2. So the final 2 installments that Wizards put out of the actual official lore on the official website, where you have the written story below and them telling the story above, the poor woman narrating it, she literally puts in the effort where she goes, oh, I said this word wrong, I'll do it again. Now, how do I know that she said that? Because they left it in the video. They left it in the video. Like, you watch the video, you can hear her make mistakes. They didn't bother to edit it. Whoever's listening to the videos isn't listening to the videos. They're just editing them and putting them out. It's wild. What's even funnier, or maybe equally funny, depending on your sense of humor, is if you go and look at the articles, there's a picture of Will Rowan, and he is astride his charger, this big chestnut horse. And by chestnut, I mean brown. So directly below this picture of Will on his brown horse, they have Will rides in on his white horse. And you're just like, but the picture up here, it literally, like, they're not paying any attention. They don't have proofreaders. If they had proofreaders, they'd go, yo, yo, yo. So in the 4th installment, Kellen takes the witch's ice crown to Talion and gives it to him, right? Yup. And in the 5th installment, the witch uses that ice crown after it's been given away. Sure does. And you don't see a contradiction with that? Like, we've reached the point where I genuinely feel like when Wizards starts embracing AI more, that they should have an AI basic, like, logic circuit for their lore where it feeds it in and goes, people can't use what they've already given away. She doesn't have the helm. She can't use it. And that is like, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the insane stuff that they screwed up in the last installment of lore. It's so bad that tonight, over on Hatcher, is dedicated to a profanity-laden rant about how abysmal the story gets at the very end. It's like, with the Aftermath story, they messed up throughout it. Every single installment, I'm like, there's the dumb, there's the dumb, there's the dumb. But with this one, I was like, solid, 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 solid. What have you done? I don't even know, like, I was the writer just like, yo, bro, I got a bunch of Cheetos that are waiting for me to eat them, and Wizards don't even read this stuff. I hit my word count. Submit it. They never read my last story. Who cares? It feels like how I used to handle, like, high school homework assignments, where the teacher would give me a bunch of questions. What's geothermal energy? And I would just write back, energy that's geothermal. And it would just get a check mark, because they're not checking. That's what's going on over at Wizards. The lore stuff is wild. Now, their lack of care is on display everywhere. They did a huge stream yesterday. They were like, check out all the newness for Eldraine, check out all these crazy powerful cards, check it out, check out these foils. And the foils they showed, can you guys guess what was wrong with them? That's right, they're bent, they're warped. They're literally showing us warped foils. They don't even take the effort of, hey, maybe we should print out some better words. Or maybe shove it in a book and flatten it before you put it in the video. They don't care. The number of times they just show damaged cards in their videos, bent cards, warped cards, cards with damage along the edges, and it's like, you want us to pay these absurd prices, right? And you've lost the narrative. We'll actually talk about that in a second, the whole overpricedness and all that, because it ties into Commander Masters and Eldraine, and I want to discuss that. But before we do, I want to talk about the next mistake, which is Wizards put the wrong art on tokens. They showed us images yesterday, you know, they have 6 different roles. I thought there was only going to be 5 different roles, 1 for each color, but there are 6 different roles. They operate as token enchantments, right? Now, they made the smart choice of actually making them 2-sided. So Well, one-sided but 2 tokens on the front, right? So you can have your cursed and your wicked token on the same card. That's cool, right? But they messed up. They reversed the artwork. They showed the image in the stream and they went, so you guys will notice that the cursed one and this one have the, I believe it's like cursed and, I don't know. It's the one that's really important that they messed up is cursed. Cursed is supposed to have a frog on it. You're turned into a 1/1 frog, but it's not on that roll. So they showed the image and they're like, yeah guys, this is how it is going to be in the sets. Like every single set that comes out now, there are multiple mistakes like this and there's no excuse for it. They charge crazy prices for all of this stuff, right? So let's talk about Commander Masters and how Wilds of Eldraine is really kind of emphasizing the problem with these master sets. Master sets are reprint sets where Wizards goes, yo, we've got tantalizing reprints you really want. Come on, get them, right? So ultimately you'd be like, all right, I get it. You're making these expensive sets with these expensive reprints in it, and you're going, we're only going to sell these sets at a higher price because we want more money for these reprints. But then they can't help themselves with shoving reprints in everywhere else. Take a look at set boosters. 1 out of every 4 packs of set boosters, or is it 1 out of 4? Yeah, it's 1 out of 4. So it's like 25%, right? Or is it 1 out of 8? They changed the numbers around. So it's either 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 8. Was that the Transformers? I can't even keep it straight anymore. They've done such a great job of making this into a gigantic bafflement pie. I cut myself a slice and go, yo, I'm confused, bro. I'm confused. But the point is, they have list cards in set boosters. This is a big reprint list where you can get your extra shot of juice. And then with Strixhaven, they said, why don't we make the Mystical Archive? And then Brothers War came along, like, why don't we do the same thing? Strixhaven comes along, they're doing the same thing with enchantments. It's like they don't trust the standard set to sell well enough or something, so they go, let's goose it with a bunch of juicy reprints. But it's all the reprints get so cannibalized where you look at Commander Masters and go, the whole point of the set is reprints. And it's supposed to be juicy reprints. And like the second juiciest reprint in the whole set is Doubling Season. But then you turn around and Doubling Season is on the list for Eldraine. And it's like, are you guys not communicating? Are you running out of cards to put on this? What is the point of Commander Masters when between the list and the special variation that we seem to get for every set, we're looking at somewhere in the range of 2 to 3 or maybe even 400 different reprints that are available in that set, and the overlap with the most desirable chase ones. It's genuinely baffling where you go, what is the thought process here? No wonder Commander Masters tanked. You've got nothing in it and you want to shove this stuff elsewhere. You literally, it's not wanting to have your cake and eat it too. It's wanting to have your cake and eat it 3 times. That's what it feels like. How does that even work, right? And they're getting cheap in a whole bunch of different ways where we're getting hosed. And actually this extends out into D&D. You guys might not have heard about this. And I'm thinking about doing a video about it over on my other channel because I don't talk specifically about D&D here. But did you know Wizards of the Coast was caught out with AI artwork in one of their books? So one of the D&D books has AI artwork in it. And I haven't looked too deeply into it because I haven't decided about doing a full video on it. But apparently what happened was somebody was able to tell because they had like wolves with human feet and stuff. You know, like if you're familiar with AI art, you've seen enough of it, you can start to find the weird, like there's a Batman comic out there that somebody made with AI, and in one scene, his hand's like literally like a coach's whistle, like tweet, and like there's a set of stairs that goes to nowhere, and the person who's made it's like, look how amazing AI is, and it's like, it's not even close. And so Wizards of the Coast is literally like, oh, we didn't know this AI was in here. And we're all like, no, AI guy, you can't do that. Meanwhile, they hired somebody who's literally known for mucking about with AI. And it's like, oh, it's just like enhanced AI or whatever. It's fine. And Wizards is just like, we didn't know it was a thing. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You're trying to get away with it. You're trying to do that dance where you go, maybe if we use AI art, but like we can't copyright it. So why don't we just lie and say none of this is AI artwork and go, you got to prove it, right? That's what they did with the OGL, right? When they wanted to change the open gaming license for D&D content creators, they wanted to make the rules go like this. If we copy your work, it doesn't count as us copying your work unless you can prove internally that we actually did it. So you have to have proof that we said we were copying you, or we just get your work and there's nothing you can do about it. And if you want to sue us, you can only do it through this one court, it was like this insane sort of, what are you doing? It was so blatant. So they have no problem absolutely lying to us, right? And they were just hosing the D&D players in that regard. And now we've got this AI thing going on. So I suspect that we're going to start to see AI kind of leak into Magic artwork as Wizards tries to play the game of, can we just lie to them and be like, hey, actually, all these artworks were done by Gus McGillicuddy. He works for us. And it's like, what's his job? Well, his job's actually to type in prompts and then do one brush stroke so we can technically go, here's him editing it and creating a new creation. It's a wild new world we're walking into. AI is both a boon and a hindrance, and it's curious to see how it's all going to shake out. There's a bunch of cool stuff that can be done with it. But, you know what, let's move on. Let's talk about the Black Lotus situation, because honestly, this is something I really didn't even think I was going to need to bring up, but gotta hand it to Wizards of the Coast. They are very bad at communicating things. So, I have had multiple reports from multiple angry people that Wizards of the Coast is reprinting Black Lotus. And in one way, they're right, but in another way, there's no reason to be wrong. I mean, there's no reason to be wrong. That doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to be upset because it's not actually what you think is happening. It's just Wizards, between the Magic 30 stuff and everything that's going on, everybody's primed going, they're coming for that reserve list. I know they are. I know they are. And then they're going, yo, they reprinted the Black Lotus with new artwork. And then they went, they reprinted the Black Lotus 3 times with new artwork. And I'm like, hold up. What? And I start, because the thing is, I'm in the same boat, right? When I hear that, I don't immediately go, shut up, it's gotta be something else. It can't be that, because once Wizards made Magic 30, they said, yo, reserve list boys, we coming for you. We're coming for your toys. And mark my words, that Counterspell Playtest edition that they put out, that was using the original alpha artwork, so they could go, hey, I don't know why you're upset about these other alpha reprints. You didn't care about the Counterspell when we made it. Why do you think they made that little announcement going, look at this playtest Counterspell. Isn't it cool? It's really cool. You can't play with it. Remember, you can't play with it. Remember, you can't play with it. The whole thing screamed, we're doing Magic 30 again. And actually printed on that Counterspell. It was supposed to come out in January of the year. It literally is part of that Magic 30 stuff. So can people be faulted for thinking the Wizards is about to do some skis baggery? Yo, what are they doing? They're giving away Black Lotuses for tournaments now? How does this work? So, you go digging into it, you head on over to the article, and after a while, it becomes clear. Wait a minute, these are oversized Lotuses. So these are the gigantic cards that they give away in cons and stuff like that as prizes. Those aren't real Magic cards, and not like, oh, they're not real Magic cards because we gave them a gold back. They're not real Magic cards because they're way too big to be practically used as Magic cards. Nobody uses them as a deck, so they're not really in any function circumventing the reserve list. So, just like last time when we had a Black Lotus situation with, what was it? Duel Masters. Do you guys remember that? The Duel Master Black Lotus was an even worse scenario because it really confused people. They're like, wait a minute, this is printed to card size, and there's regular ones, and there's foil ones, and this is literally a Black Lotus, but what's this extra crap on it? Turns out it wasn't a Black Lotus at all, but you couldn't read that because it was for Duel Masters. Duel Masters is, they released it as Kaijudo here, right? As far as I'm not 100% on that. If you know for sure that's what it was, then let me know, because the Duel Masters Kaijudo thing is kind of confusing to me. It's a parallel game, but it just flopped here in North America and nobody wanted it. But it's weird to me that you've got it in like Japan and it's called Duel Masters and it has an English name. Why wouldn't it be called Duel Masters here? I'm guessing actually, you know what, it must be for copyright reasons. It's the same reason that the game of Clue is Clue in North America, and everywhere else it's called Cluedo, right? And it's like, that's such a weird name. Yo, you want to play Clue? I do want to play Cluedo, you know? Like, just hear it that way. So, it's one of those scenarios. When people saw that, they went, yo, wait, are these like the real deal? Why are they reprinting Lotus? This is a reserve list reprint. It was a much bigger deal, and that made sense because it actually looked like one. But overall, this is just Wizards not understanding the environment and not real. I don't think that Wizards fully grasps how much damage they did to the game with Magic 30. Like, it basically legitimized proxies with a large subset of Magic players. It was Wizards of the Coast coming right out and being like, yo, you can play with Magic cards that aren't Magic cards. That's what we're doing right here. Look, we even changed it so there's a higher incidence of dual lands. If this was literally a collector's item, why would we increase the frequency of Sol Rings and dual lands? lands, right? Obviously, we're increasing the frequency for you to play with. And everybody picked up on that message. Oh, you can play with these non-magic cards. But nobody picked up on the price. So Wizards was like, okay, we gotta start copyright striking proxy sites, guys, because people are flooding over to them and they're selling off their collections. Wizards needs to learn to communicate more effectively. The images that they used for the Black Lotus had nothing to show perspective. They were just, here's 3 Black Lotuses, and they looked like regular sized cards. It threw me for a loop, and I'm literally spend all my time digging into Magic and figuring stuff out. So obviously, anybody who's not as deep into it as like you and I are hardcore into it, they're not gonna have any chance to know. So that's fully on Wizards of the Coast. I have done my best to put out the fires when people come in their rate, because I'm all for smacking down on Wizards when they're actually screwing up and doing things they shouldn't. In this case, it's just they should have explained it better, but they're not actually doing anything crazy. I think the idea of like the Power 9 redone with new artwork and given out as prizes for old vintage tournaments is a really smart move, because vintage players, what are you going to give them? You're going to give them packs of the new set? They don't care. Give them something special and unique, and it also doesn't affect the supply of the cards in existence. So that's a smart move overall, but poor messaging. Anyhow, that wraps up all the news. Go get you a pin. There's a link down in the description. Also, I'll put it in the comment section too, and I'll put a link over to Fantasy Geographic so you can go and watch all of the lore videos on the new set, because tonight I'm gonna melt people's speakers with my rant on how badly they've messed it up. Big thank you to my patrons for being the most awesome people on earth. Thank you very much for supporting what I do. And I will see all of you either over on Fantasy Geographic, in tonight's live stream, or in the next video.